Hello friends, I am the Dungeon Tutor. Welcome. Today I am looking at the 21st question from RPGaDay, this being the 21st of August. And the question is, what is the best secondhand role-playing game purchase you've made? That's a really tough one because, I'll be honest, most of my stuff is secondhand. I do support role-playing game creators. And especially if I find a small studio with a dream, I will often be persuaded to get something from them. Like I got, well, I know they're not tiny, but Monkey House, Jeff D. and Jack Herman's publishing studio, where they released Mighty Protectors, which is their third edition of Villains and Vigilantes. They talked me into it because I believed in Jeff, and that was cool. I bought that straight from them. I often look to get Wizards of the Coast books secondhand because I don't like to support them anymore. They get enough money. They're greedy. But a lot of what I have is not secondhand from Dungeons and Dragons purchases. So, and honestly, it's going to be hard for me to go through with games that I regularly play without finding most of the ones that I have purchased straight up from retail. Because I believe in, yes, I very much do believe in patronizing my favorite local game store. So, my Shadowrun stuff is largely bought from the store. My Dungeons and Dragons stuff, most of it is bought first from the retail. Some of them were, like, all of my GUI Cube stuff obviously came from GUI Cube. But other than that, I really have diversified tremendously by going secondhand, buying from other people directly, going to thrift. I love thrift stores. So the problem is a lot of those games have not become my staple games. D&D is still the most popular one among all my players. There's no question about that. Although, as soon as we're done with the current campaigns, we're not playing D&D for quite a while. So there's that. But there's also the possibility that many of those games that I have enjoyed have been great one-shot potential. Great things to just pull out and, just play for a little bit and then go on. They're great filler. But there are some titles that are weightier that I do look forward to delving into at some point. Once the D&D is done, and if I'm not lured away, like, hey, let's go play Warhammer 40K. Hey, let's go play World of Darkness. Let's do a Shadowrun adventure. Those are all fun. They're all great. But there have been a number of games that I've gotten from the secondhand market that I have no problems showing off. So we'll go with the latest one, first of all. Again, favorite is rough because it's like trying to pick between your children. But there's a couple that I feel really good about. So, this one is Army of Darkness, the role-playing game. This is not a game that will be a campaign game. This is one that I intend to run like it's a movie. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There may be sequels, yes, but beginning, middle, end. Done. No campaign needed. That's how I see this game. That's how I saw the Princess Bride role-playing game that I've run, and very successfully running it exactly that way. This will be the same. Besides, I think with the comedic aspect of Army of Darkness, you would hit a point of fatigue fairly quickly. This is good for quick hitting fun. And the best part is, anybody who's seen Army of Darkness can probably get into the vibe of what makes this a good game. And having a mix of earnest people who don't get comedy all that much, interspersed with people who really do, makes the whole thing funnier. You need a straight man, really. So while King Henry in... Was it Henry? No, it was Arthur. Arthur in the book was a total straight man. He was very serious and very earnest, even while this clown Ash is totally, pranking him. It was great because you had a mix of all the various characters. The people who were from the past were all very earnest. because it was their lives at stake. The Deadite threat was very real, and Ash was just sprawling around with wide comic strokes. So I think this could be a lot of fun in small bites. So I am looking forward to running that. Another one, I am something of a role-playing game historian. So when I get a chance to find old games from early on, I get really excited because I love to analyze the evolution of games and look into systems and subsystems of games, find out what's dinosaur tissue that people have moved away from. And I find that to be fascinating. So when I was actually able to find Boot Hill, which was the first Western from TSR, this really made me smile. This is not a first edition printing, mind you, but it didn't change all that much over the editions. This is still a war game, thinly veiled role-playing game wrapped around the bones of a war game. After getting this, I lost all interest really in running it. I will. I definitely want to run it, a single session encounter perhaps, something here or there, but nothing too deep. The game doesn't beg to be too deep. If I'm going to run a Western, I'd rather run honestly, a better role-playing game Western. But this could be fun for, historical accuracy, showing an interesting moment, and maybe I'll even get some Western miniatures for it. But a clash between a couple of characters with a loose story to tie them together, and I think that's what Boot Hill really does demand. So while I'm glad to have it, absolutely, I've read through it, and it's not a very deep read. It's not a very long read. Most of this is about miniatures, rules, and gear and stuff like that. Not a whole lot about building a world and having, because it assumes that you are already pretty familiar with Westerns and the Old West. Also, this is pure Western. It's not a fantasy Western like Deadlands. So there's that. But yeah, this is one that I was really happy to find. I got it for really inexpensively. I think it's a reprint. I don't know if this was actually the version that was put out by TSR, but if it was, it's in very good shape, and it was not used very much. And the copyright for this was 1975, 79, and 1990. So this was the 1990 printing. But still, kind of interesting, kind of cool. The final one I will show you, this is a fun one. This one was still expensive at half price, but I had a coupon, so it was good. This is Zweihander, the Grim and Perilous RPG. Now, I have Grim and Perilous RPGs. I have Rollmaster, which is definitely perilous. When criticals get involved in combat, it can get really scary really quick. This one really works hard at building its atmosphere and building the world. It's a thick book, but a lot of that is going over the various classes, a deep bestiary of monsters, and giving you all the tools to run around in this, again, pretty dark setting. It's not dark in that everything is evil, like Midnight. Midnight is really dark, where evil is already won, and the monsters are really hideous. This is dark in the way that your life probably won't be very long, and it will probably be very full of pain. That's the lot of people's lives. Yes, the 1%, the top level of nobility, have perhaps a pampered life, but everybody else, it sucks. And that's kind of the way it is. You get through life as best as you can, generally accepting your fate, trying to do better for yourself, but, fighting and scratching and clawing to succeed and to thrive, which is cool in its own way. It doesn't set you up for unrealistic expectations that your character is going to be a superhero, single-handedly tackling dragons and the like. No, your character could very easily die on a brigand's short sword in a fight. But at least along the way, you can tell a pretty interesting story about a person who comes flawed, comes not super powerful, but might be able to wring out enough victories and stuff to be able to do pretty well by themselves and have an interesting and memorable story as a result. I do think that there's a good place for games like these. When you get tired of all of the high-level stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, something like this can bring you back down to earth, where you're playing something in a feudal, medieval-type era, and even if there's magic, it's mostly pretty low magic. So it's gritty. It's, well, grim and perilous. And throughout all of it, too, the slice of life aspect of it. Most of your characters starting out aren't going to be even really, they won't look like potential heroes at all. But they're the people who turned left when everyone else turned right. They're the people who are, although they are fairly normal people, you're unremarkable in most ways, they still find a way to make something of themselves and be the spanner in the works, as my British friend says, that causes things to be unpredictable and allows them opportunities that most other people wouldn't have, even if those people were elevated professions like noble knights. Well, sometimes these common folk that you get to play as and rise up from can do more cool and impressive things than that noble knight can. So, pretty good game, and one that my local store does not carry. Not at all. As a matter of fact, none of the stores in my area really carry it, so I was really happy to see it. Means that somebody went out of their way probably to try to get it, got it, or moved into the area with it and gave it up somehow. But I don't try to think too much about that part. But thank you very much for joining me in this little walk down memory lane. It's kind of a cop-out because I don't have a favorite. I have general warm feelings for many of them, but as things stand right now, those three definitely would be competitors for ones that I've generally were delighted to see and picked up without too much thinking, which is cool, because I see the potential in those games, and I see that even Boot Hill, that I'm not overly looking forward to running, I think it'll still be a fascinating study in my game theory, in looking back at history and seeing how things stood and seeing if we can find some fun out of that. So thank you very much for joining me. If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. I always appreciate it when that happens, because I like to see you and I like to know that you are enjoying these videos. So, and if that is the case, you'll make me very happy, and I appreciate that. But I do hope that you come to see me again, because, it gets lonely. And if we do see each other again, I hope that between then and now, you, yes, you, have had a chance to roll some dice, play some games, have some fun, and stay safe out there, my friends. Until that next time, farewell.